Once again, I am here with a video from Foundry. I love this guy and well his team. He makes amazing videos and I just watch them and will give my commentary. With that out of the way, let's check out what he has in store for us today. In his video called Humanity's Quiet Extinction Event. Yes, these days it's not really great for me, but let's just watch something interesting and Lovecraftian, I assume, because human extinction events are amazing backgrounds for cosmic horror.
You will. The perfect mid-century American suburb. A town like something out of a faded postcard. Rows of cute little cottages with white picket fences, neat green lawns, and tire swings hanging from peach trees.
This sounds a lot like that movie with what was his name? Jesse Eisenberg. That movie where they move into a suburb with no one else but him and his wife. That was a creepy movie. That was great. I loved the surreal. I can't remember the name of that goddamn movie. But fine, I'll continue.
There's a main street with a movie theater, an automotive shop, a burger joint, and a drugstore. It's populated by happy nuclear families who have successfully achieved the mid-century American ideal of a stable, successful life. Every morning, newspapers are delivered to front porches, still warm from their time in the rocket ship. The townspeople are eager for news from back on Earth.
This is suburbia, right? Yeah, there is a entirely different kind of horror of everything just not feeling right because everything just looks perfect. There's an unfamiliar airiness from things going too perfect. Now let's check out what this airiness is.
Everyone is anxious on updates for how life has been at home since the start of the atomic war. For now, life is good here in this idyllic little slice of American suburbia, even if it is on Mars. And
Oh, okay, it is on Mars, right? I thought this was going to be a Fallout situation.
that's for the best, because soon it will be the last trace of human existence before the species dies out.
Yes, I am. And I have subscribed and liked your video. Thank you, my good friend. Now, let's move on.
I hope so. We release one of these pretty much every week, which means that after this one, although technically you don't really have to, we've actually made a ton of stuff that isn't up here on YouTube, like this video about the morphology of angels and why artists always give them wings, or this one about artificial life as a magic system. We even made a whole original series called Worldsmiths about our favorite authors and the unique landscapes of their minds.
Amazing.
Hey, if you just don't want to wait for next week's YouTube video, the truth is, it's actually already out. That's right. You can watch it right now, ad-free, along with everything else I just mentioned, over on our streaming platform, Nebula. Visit go.nebula.tv/talefoundry to sign up for just $2.50 a month.
Okay, look, now $250 a month. That's not that much of a deal, right? That's not much of a price for this amazing content. If you can support them, definitely. I mean, I haven't subscribed to Nebula yet. I'm not sure how that works, but he definitely deserves a subscription. So if you can, do him a favor.
Back on Earth, an atomic war is raging. The little blue planet's days appear to be numbered. I mentioned earlier that all human life is on a fast track to extinction. The war is certainly a factor, but it isn't.
Oh, this almost reminds me of what was that again? What was that? The one with the Q and lopsiders and what was that? All tomorrows. Yeah, Like in all tomorrows, don't the Earth and the Mars people just fight each other and almost end humanity before coming to a peace treaty and then getting attacked by the Q? Okay, let's move on.
The only thing threatening humanity. Actually, humans seem to have a pretty good chance of making it out of this. America has started sending rockets full of normal, everyday families up to Mars in order to establish a new home there. The plan is simple: transport civilians up to Mars, one rocket ship at a time. They'll have all the materials they'll need to build more towns and construct an infrastructure to support the next chapter of humanity's story. One of these families is the Bitterings, Harry, Cora, and their 3 children. When they finally arrive after their long trip, you'd think they'd be relieved to be out of the rocket ship. Excited, even. Not just to be away from the war, but to be here, in this new place, on the soil of their new home. And, for the most part, they are. Except for Harry. The moment Harry sets foot on the surface of Mars, he can feel that something is wrong. He can't place what exactly it is, just a foreboding feeling that this planet may not be the safe haven humanity was hoping for. He almost immediately wants to go back to Earth, but knows it's out of the question.
I had that feeling so many times. Not this exact feeling because I'm not in Mars, but the feeling that something is wrong and I need to be at home or something like that every time I leave and stay out for a day or two. I just get the feeling of needing to return home because there could be something wrong happening there, because something could have went wrong while I was away. That is definitely a fear that is very relatable to me.
They've come too far, 60 million miles too far, to go back now. Harry is the only person in the entire cohort of Earthmen who seems to feel uneasy about living on Mars. Every time he brings up his concerns, the other settlers brush him off. Not even his own family takes his worries seriously. For now, he tries to keep his fear in check and help the others construct their town. And construct it they do. It's beautiful, just like the towns they left back home. If you didn't know that you were on Mars, you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference, right? Harry's not so sure. Even after all their hard work, something's definitely off about this place. He just can't quite put his finger on it yet. After a while, these gnawing concerns grow into a consuming paranoia, and he finds himself keeping a close watch of everything they brought with them.
Here's the thing, I love stories that temporarily give paranoia. I'm constantly paranoid, but there's something really fascinating. People being driven mad by something is always interesting. Okay,
Harry's obsessed with making sure that everything, the seeds, the livestock, building materials, even their own bodies, stays the same. Even if he doesn't quite understand what it means yet, he has a strange feeling that if he lets it, Mars will somehow change these last few precious staples of humanity. It doesn't, though. Not at first. For a long time, things seem to be going very well. Nothing changes. They are humans, living the new human existence on Mars. His paranoia seems unjustified until they receive the news that an atomic bomb has been dropped on New York. There will be no more rockets to or from Earth. This is the beginning of the end for humanity as we know it, but Harry's the only one who realizes it. Something shifts then, now that they're trapped on Mars. There's no way off and nowhere to go. The Earth people are stranded and defenseless, and now Harry thinks, almost absurdly, Mars would eat them. When the changes come, they begin with the plants. The seeds the humans brought from Earth germinating here in the strange Martian soil, are producing unexpected results. At first, Harry is the only one who notices, and admittedly, there isn't much to notice. He plucks a blossom off the peach tree that they had brought with them as a sapling from Massachusetts. He inspects it, and something seems to be very off about it. He shows his wife, but she doesn't notice anything amiss, and Harry can't pinpoint any specifics. Something's wrong with the smell, or the color, or there are too many petals. He can't place what it is, just that it's wrong. Harry starts on a tiny rampage through the garden, looking for something, anything, to confirm his suspicions. He uproots half-grown radishes and carrots and onions. They're all off in some small, indeterminable way that makes his skin crawl. Onions, but not onions, he mutters. Carrots, but not carrots. His family watches him in concern.
Perhaps this paranoia comes from, things changing, and of course them being unable to return to Earth. I like this story so far. It's really giving me that, what was it called again? All Tomorrow's vibes. This is a great story.
And alarm as he inspects the rose bushes. And there, in among the flowers, he finally finds what he's looking for. Something real, finite, not just a feeling or a suspicion, but an actual observable wrongness in their new world. The roses are turning green. Not long after, they notice that their cow is growing a third horn. Harry had been right the whole time, and his family can clearly see that Mars is corrupting the safe, familiar things they brought with them from Earth. The once green grass of their lawn is turning purple, and the Martian wind is warping their perfect white cottage out of shape. Worse than all of this, though, it doesn't seem to matter that he was right. Somehow.
Okay, so this comes from the fear of change. I mean, it is very basic, right? Only the ones who fear change notice the details that change around them. Well, it's not like that they were the only ones that notice. Other people just don't care. They are like, okay, this is a little weird, but that's okay. Let's move on because life has to move on. And some people are like, no, life shouldn't move on, and we shouldn't just accept what is happening. And that is a huge part of Uzumaki, right? Everything about that town feels off to, what was his name? I can't remember the main character's name of Uzumaki. Soichi, I think. Or was that a character from JoJo? I think it was Soichi. Don't at me. Okay. There's a real Uzumaki vibe as well. That might be because of this illustration, which is beautiful, by the way. Their art is always just very stylized and never disappointing, to be honest. But when changes come, we must adapt. Otherwise, we will be the ones who are paranoid and self-destructive.
Now, he seems to be the only one disturbed by all of this. He stops eating the discolored vegetables, insisting that they're poisoned and that the food is slowly causing their bodies to change. His wife chalks it up to his imagination. But it's not. And before long, he starts to notice subtle but observable changes in the other settlers. One of them seems taller than they had before, another skinnier. One man's gray eyes suddenly have flecks of gold in them. His wife's skin is getting darker. Her eyes have taken on a gold coloration. He sees a subtle new sheen on his children's skin. metallic in their beds at night. The influence of this new place can no longer be denied, but, maddeningly, Harry still seems to be the only one who cares. He knows it's only a matter of time until the same changes start to warp him.
His family changing? I expected him to, save his family before leaving, building a rocket and leaving.
Refuses any food grown on Mars, only eating the meals that they had brought with them from Earth in their deep freeze, hoping that this will keep the planet's claws out of him for a little bit longer. He builds a workstation at a metal shop in town and sets to work constructing a rocket ship so his family can escape back to Earth, atomic war or no. The settlers stand around, teasing him, watching him work, looming taller, thinner, and darker in the open garage door as the days go by. Onions, but not onions. Humans, but not humans. The changes aren't just physical either. One night, Harry wakes up with an unfamiliar word on his lips. Lord. The local archaeologist tells him that this is the Martian word for Earth. There is no logical way for him to have acquired this vocabulary. Martian is a dead language. The original inhabitants of this planet were long gone by the time the Earth people arrived. Harry picks up the pace, working non-stop on the rocket ship.
Oh, so in this universe, there were people on Mars before. There were people on Earth. Maybe they even coexisted. Either way, I think this is like the territory changing people, perhaps, and our main character doesn't want to adapt to the changes. This isn't exactly an extinction, is it? I mean, things change and we adapt with the change, because if we can't, we go extinct. It's better to have people that are, human in the sense that they have our values and, standards we have for each other, than be physically human. Wouldn't you agree?
Ship. The food from the deep freeze is gone, so he's stopped eating. The Martian summer is heating up, the days getting longer, his body getting weaker, and taller, and darker. His family and friends start begging him to give it up, to come home and rest and eat. The more exhausted Harry gets, the more annoyed he becomes with their constant hounding, and the less motivation he has to finish the rocket. Finally, Cora invites Harry to join her and the children on a trip out to the old Martian canals to cool off. Harry is hesitant at first, but the exhaustion finally wins out, and he agrees to go. The trip does wonders for Harry. If only for a little while, he's able to escape his consuming paranoia and just relax. As he lay in the sun with his family, he can see how much they've changed, barely recognizable from the people he had gotten out of the rocket ship with. Tall, thin, their skin baked dark from the sun, hair and eyes bright yellow. But this time, when he looks at them and he sees these changes, he's not afraid. It's almost as if, here under the sun, in this peaceful place, the anxiety has sloughed away like so much sweat. Dan, one of Harry and Cora's sons, asks if he can change his name to Linnell. It's a surprise. It's a Martian name that he feels is a better fit for him than his old Earth name. To Harry's surprise, he and Cora agree with very little hesitation. They end their trip to the canals by exploring the nearby Martian villas. Amongst the blue marble architecture and cool waterways, the Bitterings are finally able to get some respite from the heat.
I love everything about this story so far. Let's see where it goes.
When they at last return to town, Harry finds that his mood has shifted somewhat. He doesn't have the same feverish drive to work on the rocket. Nobody is helping him. The working conditions are abysmal. And he doesn't even know if there's anywhere left on Earth to flee to. Ever since the trip up to the canals, Harry's found it hard to care about going home. He's eaten the Martian food, visited the Martian settlements, gotten used to his no longer human companions and their no longer human names. Going home is becoming less and less of a priority for him. The old fever is gone. A short time later, the Bitterings are invited to vacation with the other townspeople. Not just out to the canals this time, but to the old abandoned Martian villas themselves. There's still a tiny part of Harry that wants to see the construction of the rocket through, but his friends say that he can just pick it up when they all return in the autumn. And that's enough for Harry. His family packs up their car with far less of their belongings than they had originally brought with them to Mars. Harry's books, Laura's dresses, all the little human elements that had once been so important to them are no longer deemed necessary. It's just a few months up at the villas. Surely they don't need all this clutter. They say goodbye to their human house and their human town and drive.
I thought the house has changed, but whatever, that doesn't really make a difference. That means they are embracing the Mars atmosphere, I guess. No, I guess terrain of Mars, right?
Drive away without sparing a single backward glance at the place they had worked so hard to make their home. Months pass at the villas. The Bitterings have become unrecognizable. They barely resemble humans at all anymore. They can't even seem to remember what it was like to be humans. To their minds, they have always been the tall, dark-skinned, golden-eyed people of Mars, and always will be. Harry and Cora, or whatever it is they go by now, gaze down at the abandoned Earth settlement from their hilltop villa. It's autumn, the time when they had vowed to return, but there's nothing worth returning to. The rows of clean, cute cottages have been warped out of shape by the Martian wind, no longer resembling the houses they were built to mimic. The chairs in the movie theater sit empty, the projector gathering dust. Tire swings sway on brittle ropes. The trees they're anchored to have changed color and are heavy with unknown fruit. The garage door to the metal shop stands open, and inside, a half-built rocket frame is starting to rust. Such odd, such ridiculous houses the Earth people built, Harry says to Cora as they look down at their old settlement. They didn't know any better, she responds. Such ugly people. I'm glad they've gone. Obviously, this was not a true story. It's from a piece of short fiction called Dark They Were and Golden-Eyed, written by Ray Bradbury in 1949. He was one of the kids.
In 1949, oh my god. Okay, so I can think of a few reasons. I hope this wasn't, trying to imply that we shouldn't change. But here's the thing. People look down upon people who aren't willing to change, I guess. I get that feeling, but I need more time to process on this story, to actually, analyze the themes and whatever else is in them. I just like the story on its face. On its face value, I like what the story is about. But the ending is a bit, weird. But weird isn't always bad. Weird is always unusual, I guess.
Kings of science fiction, and his work tends to have this foreboding, sort of icky feeling attached to it, without necessarily being horror. I like this story a lot in particular because of how harrowing it is to watch this character that you know is correct slowly lose his motivation to fight for his humanity. All you can really do is watch him succumb to the change.
Is that a bad thing? Because they seemed happy. So what's the problem with that?
It's a bit scary and more than a little melancholic, but I also don't necessarily think this is a tragedy. At the very end of the story, 5 years later, another rocket from Earth arrives, intending to rescue the settlers.
Oh, the story isn't over.
They, of course, find the human city empty, and the only living beings for miles around are the Martians up in the villas. The last lines of the story focus on one of the newcomers having reservations similar to Harry's. It seems like this is going to be a cycle. Humans arrive, humans begin to change, humans become something else altogether.
Maybe not something else, because I think they still have their, core values and everything, that people deserve to be free and everything, and choose their identity, everything like that.
Perhaps this continues until Earth itself is empty, all of its inhabitants having gone to Mars and been transformed. If that's the case, I suppose it spells the end for humanity, perhaps the quietest possible extinction event. But if that were to happen, would it really be that sad? I think humans are inclined to feel like Harry, to see changes to their identity as this invasive, horrible thing. But maybe becoming something else would be a relief? A surrender of all the outdated fears and anxieties that plague a species so fixated on retaining your you-ness? Harry fought so hard to protect his humanity, but in the end, he doesn't find peace until he gives it up. The Martians at the end of the story are undeniably happier than those humans who first arrived on the planet when the story began. The story doesn't frame this conclusion as a tragedy. It's haunting, yes, but it's almost a happy ending. Does that mean it would be a good thing? That humanity should embrace whatever defining changes inevitably touch the species in the future? I don't have an answer to that. I'd rather leave it up to you to decide. But I do think the story poses an interesting ultimatum. You can either be consumed by change, trusting yourself to adapt.
I don't like the word consumed. I mean, yeah, I understand where he's coming from, and it is a great story. And yeah, let's change. We can always be better than we were. And we deserve to be better, don't you think?
To the new ways in which you and the world around you are changing.
Now, better doesn't always mean physically stronger and stuff like that. Better means, having. I don't even know how to explain this. Wish I knew.
Even if it threatens to turn you into something else entirely. Or you can be consumed by your defiance of change, holding on to what you are now at all costs, even if it means living in constant fear, hardship, and isolation. In a sense, you lose yourself either way. It's really just a choice of what you'd rather be instead. And I'm afraid that's all for this week. Our next video will be coming out in a week from now.
Oh, this one was a old video. I just thought it looked interesting, so I checked it out. Okay, like and subscribe to this fellow Tail Foundry. He is amazing. And if you have the time, of course, leave me a like and subscribe as well. I do more of the cosmic horror stuff, but this is also a little bit leaning towards the cosmic horror stuff, but this is like if the Innsmouth people and the normal people got along, and people just were accepting of fish people, But instead, of course, Lovecraft's xenophobia came in and he made it weird, but it is also an amazing story. Dagon and horror and Tinsmith. How did I forget that? Forget the title of that. I can't even. I must be losing my mind as well. But whatever. This was a great video, and I'm going to upload another video about Junji Ito's Black Paradox. It's a great story, and I think it deserves a lot of credit, and I will be uploading it soon, sooner rather than later. I just have a hard time editing videos. Videos like this are easier to make because all I have to do is talk in front of the microphone. But when I'm making a video, I say I have to edit things, and that takes time and energy, which admittedly I have very little. I thank you for watching this video. You have my gratitude.